Hell's Angel sister. Texted. He locked me in the basement. Minutes later, 100 bikers surrounded her ex-house. The evening sun cast long shadows through the garage windows as Jack Thompson worked methodically on his motorcycle. His large hands, covered in old calluses and fresh polish, moved with surprising gentleness across the chrome. The familiar scent of leather polish and motor oil filled the air, bringing him the peace he always found in this nightly ritual. The garage was his sanctuary. Pictures of him and his Hell's Angels brothers lined the walls, along with vintage motorcycle posters and well-worn tools. In the corner, a framed photo of him and Samantha at her high school graduation caught the fading light. Even then, he'd towered over her, his protective arm draped around her shoulders. Before you continue listening, please let me know where in the world are you watching from today. Now back to the story. Jack dipped the cloth back into the polish, his mind wandering to their last conversation. She'd seemed off somehow, distant. He'd meant to check on her this weekend, but... The buzz of his phone cut through his thoughts. The device vibrated against the metal workbench, making a harsh sound that sent a chill down his spine. Jack wiped his hands on a nearby rag and picked up the phone. The message preview made his blood run cold. He locked me in the basement. The polish-soaked cloth slipped from his fingers, landing with a wet splat on the concrete floor. His hands, steady just moments before, began to shake as he read the message again. Samantha. His little sister. Travis. It had to be Travis. The garage suddenly felt too small, too confined. Jack's breath came in short bursts as rage and fear battled in his chest. The tattoos on his arms seemed to ripple as his muscles tensed. The peaceful evening shattered like glass, replaced by the thundering of his heart in his ears. His fingers, usually so sure on motorcycle handles and in tense situations, fumbled with the phone. The picture of Samantha smiling at her graduation seemed to watch him as he pulled up her contact. Each ring felt like an eternity, each second of silence another moment she was trapped. Jack paced the length of his garage, his heavy boots echoing off the walls. 3 steps, turn, 3 steps, turn. The phone rang again, his free hand clenched into a fist, knuckles white with tension. "Please pick up, Sam," he whispered, his voice rough with emotion. "Come on, little sister." The 4th ring cut off mid-tone. "Jack?" Samantha's voice came through, barely above a whisper. It trembled with fear, but there was something else in it, too. Something he couldn't quite place. "Sam, are you okay? Where exactly are you?" The words tumbled out as he already started moving toward the door, grabbing his leather jacket from its hook. Her voice caught, and he heard her take a shaky breath. "I'm in Travis's basement. Please, Jack, I need your help. He's completely lost it this time." Jack's jaw clenched so tight he could hear his teeth grinding. "Listen to me, Sam. I'm coming right now. You stay on the phone with me, you hear? Don't hang up." "Please hurry," she begged, her voice breaking. "I don't know what he'll do when he comes back." "I'm already on my way," Jack promised, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "You've got my word, Sam. 5 minutes. I'll be there in 5 minutes." Jack kept the phone pressed to his ear as he strode to his motorcycle, his movements precise despite the anger coursing through him. "Sam, stay on the line. I need to make some calls, but I'm not hanging up." With practiced efficiency, he pressed the speaker button and pulled up his contacts. The first number he dialed was Mike Steele Davidson, his right-hand man in the Hell's Angels. The phone rang only once. "Big Bear, what's up?" "Steele, I need everyone. Now." Jack's voice was steady, controlled, but carried an unmistakable edge. Travis has my sister locked in his basement." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. "That piece of—" Steele cut himself off. "Where?" "His place on Cedar Street. Get the word out. Full response." Jack swung his leg over his bike, the familiar leather seat creaking beneath him. "On it, brother. 10 minutes." Jack's next call went to Danny "Ghost" Martinez. "Ghost, emergency ride. Travis's place. Spread the word." Each call was shorter than the last, his words becoming more clipped as the urgency built. Through the speaker, he heard Samantha's uneven breathing. "Jack?" Her voice was small, afraid. "I'm here, Sam. The boys are coming, all of them." He turned the key, and his bike roared to life beneath him. The sound echoed off the garage walls, a mechanical growl that matched the fury in his chest. One by one, the responses started flooding in. Text messages lit up his phone screen. "On my way. Coming from the east side. Count me in. Nobody messes with family." The messages kept coming as Jack backed his bike out of the garage. In the distance, he could already hear the distinctive rumble of motorcycles approaching. Steele was the first to appear, his chrome-detailed bike gleaming under the streetlights. Behind him rode 5 more brothers, their leather vests bearing the distinctive Hell's Angels patches. They didn't need words. A simple nod between them said everything. More engines growled in the night, growing louder as bikes appeared from every direction. 10 became 20. 20 became 50. The ground seemed to vibrate with the combined power of their machines. Jack checked his phone again. "Sam, we're coming. Can you hear us?" Yes," she whispered. "I can feel the ground shaking." The formation grew larger with each passing minute. Bikes lined up behind Jack in a V formation, headlights cutting through the darkness like angry eyes. The air filled with the smell of exhaust and leather, the familiar sense of brotherhood and purpose. Steele pulled up beside Jack. "We're at full strength. Everyone's here." Jack surveyed the scene before him. 100 bikes idled in the street, their combined rumble like rolling thunder. 100 brothers, ready to ride for family. The neighbors peered out their windows at the gathering storm of chrome and steel, but Jack paid them no mind. He raised his arm, the signal to move out. The roar of engines swelled as 100 throttles opened up. The formation pulled away from the curb, a massive wave of metal and determination flowing through the city streets. The wind whipped at Jack's jacket as they accelerated. Streetlights blurred past, casting alternating patterns of light and shadow across the sea of riders. The city became a tunnel of motion around them, buildings and cars mere backdrop to their purpose. Through it all, Jack kept the phone line open, letting his sister hear the approaching thunder of her rescue party, the sound of 100 Hell's Angels cutting through the night, coming for one of their own. The rumble of engines died down as 100 motorcycles lined the suburban street in front of Travis's house. The quiet that followed felt heavy, electric with purpose. Porch lights from neighboring homes flicked on, curious faces appearing in windows to watch the gathering of leather-clad figures. Jack killed his engine last, his boots hitting the pavement with a solid thud. The phone was still connected to Samantha's call as he surveyed the modest 2-story house. Behind drawn curtains, a single light burned on the first floor. Steele appeared at his right shoulder, voice low. "Ghost and the others have the back covered. No one's getting out that way." Jack nodded, his jaw clenched tight. The familiar weight of his leather vest felt like armor as he strode toward the front door, boots crunching on the gravel driveway. Behind him, dozens of his brothers formed a solid wall of support, their presence both reassuring and intimidating. The porch steps creaked under his weight. Each step forward fed the fury building in his chest, images of his sister trapped and afraid fueling his rage. The screen door's hinges protested as he pulled it open. "Sam?" he called out, pressing his ear to the main door. "I'm here, sis." Through the phone, he heard movement, then her voice, closer now. "Jack?" He tried the handle. Locked. His fingers curled into a fist, ready to break through if necessary, but Steele was already there with a small toolkit. Years of experience had taught them both that sometimes quiet entries were better than dramatic ones. The lock clicked open within seconds. Jack pushed the door wide, stepping into the dim entryway. The house smelled of coffee and something else. Fear, maybe, or desperation. The floorboards whispered under his heavy boots as he moved forward, guided by instinct, and the sound of breathing through the phone connection. "Kitchen's clear," came a whisper from behind him, as several brothers spread through the first floor with practiced efficiency. A door stood partially open at the end of the hallway, revealing stairs descending into shadow. The basement. Jack's heart hammered against his ribs as he approached, phone still clutched in his hand. "Sam?" he called again, softer now. "I'm here," came her reply, both through the phone and from beyond the door. Jack pushed the basement door wider, its hinges silent. Light from the hallway spilled down the stairs, illuminating a familiar figure seated near the top. Samantha looked up at him, her face pale but composed. No bruises, no tears, just a profound sadness in her eyes that made his protective instincts surge. Behind him, he heard confused murmurs from his brothers. The tension that had built during their ride over shifted, became uncertain. This wasn't the scene of violence and imprisonment they'd prepared for. Samantha sat with her knees drawn up, arms wrapped around them like she used to do as a child when she was troubled. She met Jack's gaze, and in that moment, he saw something in her expression that made his stomach drop. Not fear of Travis, but something deeper, more complicated. The phone in his hand was still connected, the call timer showing nearly 30 minutes. He ended it with a swipe of his thumb, the small action echoing in the sudden stillness. Around him, his brothers waited, their presence a reminder of the force they'd brought to bear, now standing awkwardly in this quiet hallway, while Samantha looked up at them with those sad, guilty eyes. Samantha's fingers twisted in the hem of her sweater, a nervous habit Jack recognized from their childhood. The basement light cast harsh shadows across her face, making her look both younger and more vulnerable than her 25 years. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The words seemed to catch in her throat, making her pause to gather courage. "Travis didn't lock me in here." Jack's brow furrowed, his massive frame tensing. Behind him, the bikers shifted, leather creaking in the silence. "What do you mean?" Samantha drew in a shaky breath. "I locked myself in." Her words fell like stones in still water, sending ripples of confusion through the gathered men. I wanted him to be scared, to know what would happen if he didn't leave me alone." The admission hit Jack like a physical blow. He took a step back, his boots scuffing against the wooden floor. The rage that had been building inside him since receiving her text message suddenly had nowhere to go. It churned in his stomach, transforming into something else. Betrayal. "You what?" His voice came out rough, disbelieving. "I know how it sounds," Samantha said, standing now, her hands held out in a pleading gesture. "But you don't understand what it's been like. The constant texts, showing up at my workplace, following me around town. I needed it to stop, and I knew." She glanced at the bikers behind Jack, their expressions ranging from confusion to disappointment. "I knew you would come, that you'd bring everyone." Steele cursed softly behind Jack. Other murmurs of discontent rippled through the group. These were men who'd dropped everything to ride out here, ready to defend family, only to find they'd been used as part of a manipulation. "So you lied." Jack's words cut through the mumbles. "You made me think you were in danger, made me call out my brothers for nothing." The betrayal in his voice was evident, making Samantha flinch. "Not for nothing," she protested, tears beginning to well in her eyes. "Travis needs to understand he can't keep doing this to me. I needed him to know there would be consequences." "Consequences?" Jack's voice rose, echoing off the basement walls. "You want to talk about consequences? You just used me, used all of us, to threaten someone. That's not what we're about, Sam. That's not what family does." Samantha's tears spilled over now, tracking down her cheeks. "Jack, please, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do." But Jack was already turning away, his